Hi everybody, my name is Camille. I am currently a San Jose State University student. I am a global studies major and I am enrolled in the online Tech 198 Section 1 course. And today I'm going to be doing my oral presentation on a project, a proposed biofuel in Nigeria project um, for, once again, my oral presentation. So let's get started. Let me pull up my slides first. So here we go. Biofuel in Nigeria by yours truly, of course. And so my proposed project would take place on the continent of Africa, specifically in the country of Nigeria, and the particular region would be in the southern section, in the coastal cities of Port Harcourt and Calabar, as well as a couple of cities near the river, or near the Nigerian river, which are Benin City, Owerri, and Warri. And the primary reason I chose these 5 cities is because of their proximity to consistent water source. Of course, with biofuel, you need crops to make the biofuel, and so these areas that are near or are close proximity to a water source, a consistent water source, will tend to have more crop production. In the case of coastal cities, there's more precipitation, which is good. We like that for crops. And in the case of the rivers or the river-based cities, of course, there is, once again, a reliable water source. So my proposed project description, basically women in Nigeria, as it is, already grow and harvest crops. And the primary crops in Nigeria are cassava, yams, and corn. And now why this is so crucial is because biofuel is starch-based. It's made from starch crops, as we've seen, sugarcane, wheat, corn. And all 3 of these crops, these are just among some of Nigeria's crops, but these are the main staples of Nigeria. All of these crops are starch-based and therefore can create biofuel, effective biofuel. So in addition to growing and harvesting crops, what I'm proposing that we do is train Nigerian women to both create and distill biofuel. So that not only means their traditional role of being farmers, but also teaching them a new skill set to work in factories, to work in plants that create biofuel. And so my project goals are inevitably to improve the role of women. There is another opportunity for them to contribute to the Nigerian economy. Essentially, there would be new jobs created for women and just an opportunity for them to generate more wealth for the country. In addition, there would be a working relationship that's forged between 2 developing countries, because as you'll see in a couple of slides, what I'm proposing is that Brazil goes over to Nigeria and sets up these biofuel plants and helps them out with the biofuel production. So the technology involved, basically there's 2 primary technologies that would be involved in this project. The first of which would be the fermentation equipment. As you can see, this lovely fermentation tank, which pretty much the fermentation equipment is not only responsible for heating up the crops and making sure that they remain hot in the liquid that is being produced, but also that they're effectively distilling and removing the impurities of the actual fuel and of the liquid that's being produced from the crops. As you can see, the fermentation tank is regulated by this giant computer actually, and instead of the Nigerian woman having to constantly check on the process of the fermentation every 10 minutes, she can operate with the touch of a button to make sure everything is functioning as it should, everything is regulated, and everything is essentially synthesizing and just running smoothly. The second technology that would be involved is the transportation. So, of course, since Nigeria and Brazil are going into a partnership with one another, the final product that is created from Nigerian crops will eventually end up somewhere else. And so if it goes to Brazil, that means it needs to cross the ocean If it goes to anywhere else in the world, that means it will need to either go across an ocean or even just be driven by means of a truck to another location. And in addition, the processing of the final product into a vessel that can contain it. So the technology transfer and project plan. What I'm proposing is that Brazil, through foreign direct investment, set up fermentation plants in Nigeria and get them started in biofuel and bioethanol production. One of the companies that's most synonymous with Brazilian biofuel production is Petrobras. And Petrobras is actually an oil refinery in Brazil, but they've recently, like within the past couple of years, have started to expand their enterprise into alternative fuels, into biofuels, just to once again expand their enterprise and explore different demographics, if you will. So what I'm proposing is that Petrobras would come over to Nigeria, build the factory plants, build the factories and the fermentation plants, as well as the equipment that Nigeria needs to get started in this biofuel production. In addition, Petrobras employees would train Nigerian women how to operate the machinery. And it wouldn't just stop there either. It wouldn't just be the basic training of this is what you need to do, so do it. It would be more so not only training on the machinery, but also teaching the woman about why things are the way that they are in terms of this whole fermentation process. They would teach the woman the science behind it, because let's be honest, if you're going to do something, you need to know why you're going to, or what all is happening, what all you're doing, or what all is happening and why you're doing this. So that will provide not only an opportunity for women to learn new skills and new trades, but also gain an education in a way, because fermentation is strictly science-based, and so they'll have this exposure to this whole another level of thought-provoking, not characteristics, but skills. And then, of course, it'll create new job opportunities. These not only, so the women already, as it is, like I said, harvest or grow and harvest crops, but this will add another job title that that women can take on, working in factories and participating in the fermentation process, or overseeing the fermentation process, I should say. So the anticipated problems, because as we know, no project is ever without a hitch. The first anticipated problem is increased competition. Now, you're probably wondering why a country or a company in a country that produces the exact product that it stands for, or it stands for, why that particular company would go out of its domestic range and pursue another country when they could just get it, when they can pursue another country's exact product when they could just get it at home. From an economic standpoint, we like competition. Competition is good, but it inevitably creates this whole race for who can be the cheapest. And so Brazil, with biofuel being one of Brazil's main industries, it essentially threatens the Brazilian, or it poses somewhat of a threat to Brazilian, this booming Brazilian industry. The second anticipated problem is using more crops for fuel rather than food. Now, we know that Nigeria is a struggling developing country, and there is a heinous amount of poverty in Nigeria. So it seems a little bit insensitive to use these crops that should be used to feed families, and we're using it to fuel cars. It doesn't seem like it makes any sense, but I promise you it will. My proposed solution in this next slide will clear it up. And then finally, the third anticipated problem is unevenly distributed wealth amongst northern and southern Nigeria. Now, because southern Nigeria is where this project will be based, the northern section of Nigeria will feel somewhat slighted. The reason being is there's not as many job opportunities. It's not an equal amount of job opportunities throughout Nigeria, and more people are probably going to want to end up moving to the south, and those that can and are forced to stay in the north are at a disadvantage. So, in addressing these problems, there are two main proposals, if you will. The first, to remedy both the increased competition as well as, regulating or using crops for fuel rather than food. Both of these would be remedied by implementing quotas. Now, in implementing quotas, it still gives Brazil some control, or it still allows Brazil to retain control over one of its popular industries. So it allows for a little bit of competition, and it allows for Brazil to help a fellow developing nation, but without completely sacrificing itself and sacrificing its own industry. In addition, by implementing quotas, it will no longer be an issue as to whether all of the crops, or a good majority of the crops, are going towards fuel as opposed to food. Because let's be honest, if Brazil is not going to be receiving as much of the final product, is not going to be, taking everything that Nigeria produces, the population is less inclined to use all of their crops if they know that not everything is going to be used. So it helps to not prioritize, but just ration out how many crops are going to be used specifically for fuel, and then what the rest will be used for is, of course, food. And so the other problem that will be addressed is the whole disparity between the opportunities in the north and the south. It's important to remind both the north and the south that even though wealth will be concentrated in a specific area, that the wealth benefits the entire country as a whole. Pretty much just what my argument is GDP is not based per city. It's not based per section of the country. It's based on the country as a whole. And so just because there isn't job growth in northern Nigeria doesn't mean there isn't growth in Nigeria, like, collectively. And so even though wealth is concentrated in a specific area, that wealth is going to distribute all throughout the country. Or it's going to, not distribute, but it's going to impact the entire country. And this project is definitely more of a social engineering program as opposed to a technology fix. And the main reason is because it empowers women. Unfortunately, like many countries in Africa, Nigerian women are exposed to just harrowing, completely awful situations in awful circumstances. There's female genital mutilation, HIV/AIDS, and of course rape. And a lot of the times these traumatic incidents can compromise a woman's self-worth and skew respect for herself, or skew the respect that she has for herself. And now by offering these opportunities to advance a woman's woman's position in society, if you will, by making her even more so of a breadwinner, it gives her some of that power that she lost early on, and it helps to reestablish her sense of identity, if you will. Of course, it changes the role of women in that women are no longer just the farmers or just the gardeners, but they can work in a variety of environments. They can wear different hats. Not only can they work outside, but they can also work inside in a fermentation plant or in a factory. And in addition, they are capable of not only getting their hands dirty and washing off or getting their hands dirty and planting and harvesting crops, but they're also capable of understanding like complicated scientific processes